After decades of civil war, peace finally came to Cambodia 10 years ago. Having endured such a long period of political instability, bloodshed and extreme poverty, many Khmer people are now looking to ecotourism for a way forward. The best kinds of ecotourism are sustainable. For something to be sustainable, it must benefit the local community while not causing any permanent damage to the local environment or its wildlife. To find out if this was the case in Cambodia, I travelled there in the summer wet season of 2007. Not long after crossing the border from Thailand, I encountered my first puncture. While the wheel was carefully changed, the locals warned me not to venture off the road, the reason being that this area had been heavily mined during the Khmer Rouge regime. It wasn't long before we were back on the road again, heading for Siem Reap, the gateway to the ancient city of Angkor. From the bustling, tourism-driven town of Siem Reap, it's only a short ride to a place that most Cambodians consider the root of Khmer culture. Built between the 9th and 13th centuries, Angkor Wat and its surrounding buildings and temples make up the ancient city of Angkor. During the Khmer Empire, this enormous city was home to over 1 million people. Nowadays, millions of tourists visit Angkor Wat every single year. This is undoubtedly a good thing for Cambodia, but only if preservation of the site is placed before short-term profits. For this reason, Angkor is a great example why people should be looking to the long-term solutions. It is truly a magical place, and you can't help but notice that it's not just the carvings that join this place to nature. "600 years ago, Angkor was mysteriously abandoned. In its place, a new capital was founded, in a place where 3 large rivers meet, one of which is the world-famous Mekong River. This new capital, packed with history, is known as Phnom Penh. As morning arrives, it's time to explore the city. Phnom Penh is well on the road to recovery after the harrowing times in the 1970s, when Pol Pot's Khmer Rouge guerrillas forcibly moved the entire population into the countryside. This had a devastating effect on the Cambodian population, including the terrible acts of genocide that occurred across Cambodia. Nowadays, politics is still high on the agenda for the people here. However, my reason for coming to Phnom Penh was to look for any evidence for the illegal wildlife trade. My reason being that for any country to have a successful ecotourism program, it first needs to make sure that its wildlife and the habitats they live in aren't being illegally depleted. To find out the extent of the wildlife trade here, I head to a local wildlife sanctuary called Phnom Tamao. The majority of the wildlife has been confiscated from illegal wildlife traders, poachers and markets throughout Cambodia. Many of the species found here are endangered and originally come from Cambodia's beautiful national parks. Unsurprisingly, the illegal wildlife traders are harming Cambodia's economy, because by depleting the wildlife from the forests, they reduce the number of tourists that will come to Cambodia's national parks in the first place. No one wants to see an empty national park, so it's hoped that more funding will be spent on protecting these unique areas. If the wildlife at Phnom Tamao hadn't been rescued, it would have almost certainly been smuggled illegally abroad to China. Tigers are one of the best examples for this. A dead tiger is worth a few $1,000s to a wildlife trader at most, but if it had been kept alive and left in its habitat, it would have generated 10 times this amount through tourism. The sanctuary at Phnom Tamao has shown me the extent of the wildlife trade across Cambodia, so it's now time to head to the northeast, one of the remotest parts of Cambodia, to see how ecotourism can benefit these communities. My destination in the northeast of Cambodia is Rattanakiri province. But on the way there, I'm taking a detour up the Mekong River. The Mekong's brown, nutrient-rich waters supply a massive diversity of life, which in turn provides food for millions of people in the region. But it's not just food that the Mekong River supplies. There is a town here where ecotourism benefits the local people and the wildlife. The town of Kratie and the nearby village of Cambodia attract tourists and wildlife lovers from all over the globe because of one rather special inhabitant of the Mekong River. The freshwater Irrawaddy dolphin is an endangered species throughout Asia. A combination of overfishing, boat strikes and pollution are thought to be responsible for the decline in this particular species. But here, the Mekong Dolphin Conservation Project has given hope for the future of these magnificent creatures. The project has shown the local community how the dolphins can benefit them, both financially and culturally. Money generated from boat trips to see the dolphins and souvenirs have given the local community an alternative income to fishing. It's certainly a fantastic project, but it's time to leave the dolphins and move on again.